Welcome to the Back to Me podcast, where we help multicultural incoming freshman women and men manage their entire college experience throughout post-graduation to successfully transition into entrepreneurship and corporate workspaces as new hires.
Back to me. Oh, I turned it around. I'm back to me. I finally figured it out. I'm back to me. So when you think you have nothing, back to me. I go back to me. Yeah, I'm back to me.
Hello, everyone. It's your host, Yoli Tamu. Identifying spaces and people on campus that remind you of home can be a daunting task. Fortunately, in this week's episode of our third annual Divine Nine series, How Sororities and Fraternities Support Mental Health Awareness, we invite back Samone Anderson, UCLA's project director for the Academic Supports Program and Spring 2022 initiate, new Lambda chapter member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. Samone shares how she and her staff facilitate a holistic model of student empowerment by offering peer-based counseling services to the future leaders of tomorrow. Enjoy. Welcome to the podcast, Samone. How's it going?
Hey y'all, I'm doing great today. Thanks for asking. How are you?
Oh my God, thanks for coming back. How about that? Last time we had you, you were one of our activists, youth activists, young adult activists, and man, you were doing some incredible things. And now you are a graduate of UCLA, right? A recent graduate?
Yeah, I'm just finished this spring, so.
Oh, congratulations. And a new initiate of the Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. How does that feel?
You know, it's been one of the greatest decisions that I've ever made, and no regrets.
Oh, that's so cool. So cool. I feel honored to have you and Yael and Shaniqua, all you young ladies from Zeta. So it's a powerful time to have you all. So now I wanted to jump into our topic for the day. As the project director in your new position, I know that you have got an amazing story. And for our new listeners, I wanted you to give them a little background on who or what motivated you to even start serving students, particularly in this capacity.
Yeah, I think the last time I spoke to y'all, I was still the project director for AEP. That was another project sponsored by our union. And, since then I went on to be our chairperson last year. Just had a lot of success and advocating for the BBRC and some other things. There was a lot of politics still around these projects, actually, that I'm still working for right now with, these administrators and certain things. It's definitely on the battlefield last year in a war zone. So very deep politically, and then transitioning still with that climate while still continuing my degree. I became a full-time staff member this year at the university. What really motivated me is, I just really wanted to find a way to continue to do this work. I feel like my job, not only do I get to support Black students like myself whom have had retention issues at the university, struggled to become a part of their community or other different things, I also just feel like I get to really facilitate student empowerment and these students' growth and development. And that's something that I really enjoy about my job, being able to directly support and develop, advise our future leaders of tomorrow actively on the ground. So I definitely think that's some things that motivated me to continue to do this. The community that I came from, Black Burn community, has never left my heart in all the 5 years that I've been there, and I don't plan on leaving it no time soon.
That's right. I remember you led some march or some rally in Oakland, right?
Oh yeah, with the Richmond Revolution stuff, we did a lot of stuff. We had got a grant for the city. We continued to do citywide task force just about reforming public safety and things, and have some progress made there. We did successfully defund the city of Richmond's police budget by a couple $1 million. Police is still around, but we took some of that money back and put it back into the community. So slow steps, and I definitely just got deeper into the activist work at UCLA. I feel like coming in, I was already on that outreach and that community service side, working with kids and going in the community, working with high school students. I was doing a lot of that, but now they're at the university, and now that's my job. I get to meet them as this retention director, and our program really carries them through this next phase. I say, ASU got a whole little pipeline with their projects. AEP really focuses on the younger kids, and they'll kind of take elementary school students and mix of middle school students, and SHAPE will come and take high school students and promote direct access and a pipeline into institutions like UCLA and higher education. And then when they get here, they pass them over to me. And, we get to guide them through the next 4 years or however long of their journey here.
And I remember you were telling me another reason why you're interested in these particular students was because of the retention rate and that you yourself had dealt with retention, right?
Oh yeah, we've struggled, with our retention rate of Black students even before Prop 209. They was letting us in here. Affirmative action said they had to let us in here, but it didn't say they had to keep us here. And the decline just got worse post Prop 209. Our population at one point was less than 3%. In my time here in the last 5 years, I've watched us grow. We are now almost 6% of the student body at UCLA. That's still not a lot. That's still not enough. But compared to what these other UC campuses have, watching us grow nearly an entire 3% since I've been here, that's amazing. But now we're talking about graduation. And already before the pandemic, Black students were not graduating in 4 years. And, Black students who are, in all these categories, recipients of the Pell Grant, low income, foster youth, all these different identities, low income, working class, all of these different things. A lot of students have been impacted post pandemic. A lot of different things have affected people's retention. We have definitely started to see more trends of students being on academic action, academic difficulty. A lot of students, unfortunately, were dismissed and are now coming back and being readmitted to school post pandemic. Most Black students on average are graduating on a 5 to 6 year track compared to a 4 year track. And that's not just at UCLA, that's UC wide, that's CSU system wide. It's actually a growing issue across the nation that is taking longer and longer for Black students, particularly, to be retained. And, I feel like that's just what our job is, to try and support them through that journey, however long they need to be here, but definitely try to get them in and out in 4 years and increase that 4 year graduation rate. Definitely my own retention journey, being able to fight for myself has put me in a position to better support and advocate for my students and help them advocate for themselves along this journey. So I guess it all played out the way that it needed to be, right place, right time.
Wow. Well, I will say the fact that you're still there, not only as a student, but you're there as an employee in a director's role, you serve a powerful role. So I'm wondering the services that you offer to help these students, because, students have retention issues for many reasons, not only just academic reasons or, whatever politics might exist, but, various reasons, such as mental health concerns and just anxiety. So can you tell us what are some of the services that you offer to your students in your program?
Yeah, so ASP operates off of our house model, which it stands for Holistic Unlimited Student Empowerment Model. And that model ultimately facilitates 5 outcomes for students that are supposed to make for an empowered student at UCLA, which is what you need to be if you are going to survive this institution and, quite frankly, a Black person in life. So we got to get that empowerment going and build that base. And these outcomes entail self learning, self advocacy, peer organizing, community service, and health and wellness is our newest pillar within the last decade that's been added to our house model. We have been doing this student initiated, student run retention work on this philosophy for 34 years and counting as we get ready to roll into year 35. Our project is the biggest program that sits on the campus retention committee, which sponsors, several other retention resources for other marginalized communities, as ASU does for Black students. So, we got 5 components. I got a very large staff and looking to grow and expand as we aim to serve over 1,500 Black undergraduate students. These services entail peer counseling, mentorship, internship, and our newest component will be the peer learning component. All of these things are peer based, led and driven by students, for students. Our peer counseling is very intimate one on one sessions. You get a counselor, and we help a variety of students from incoming to continuing to students dealing with academic difficulty statuses and other things. A session for everybody is going to look different. Definitely our student leaders, we focus on a lot of other critical populations, the transfer students, foster youth, and things like that. These check-ins focus on a variety of things according to the student. Sometimes it's academic. If you are in an academic difficulty status, and yes, we have particular tools or a curriculum to support students with that. We're getting back in good university standing, or maybe being readmitted into the university, or supporting them through that contracted status. It can also be to focus on, just mental health and wellness. Right now, I feel like there's been, a lot of controversy around the university's counseling unit, the CAPS, and a lot of people just don't feel comfortable using that resource, just like many other university resources. Also, it's a limited amount of free sessions and different things, that the university caps you at. So you only get 3 free sessions. So I think there has been a desire in just recent conversations to develop some more tools to maybe emphasize, and going to get in the lab and do a bit of remarketing to really focusing on these mental health aspects. But some topics that come up when we are looking at mental health or other things is just balancing school, making time for self-care, time management, dealing with burnout or avoiding burnout, dealing with imposter syndrome, or just different things like that. It could also be as personal as students wanting to disclose things at home, their familial situation. I feel like it gets intimate as the student wants it to be. And we kind of just support that student through that. I think what makes it so unique and special about these peer based resources is that there's no humility in sharing these things with your peers, because you know that as Black students at this institution and as Black people at large, that we go through these same struggles and we've been through some of these things. I'm very proud of my students, the way that they find creative ways to just support these students, and a lot of, honestly, resources and the things that they refer them to, it comes from, them being from where they once were and having to get in their bag and having to go figure out where these resources are at. And they were in a similar boat. And so now I know exactly how to help you out of this situation. So, I feel like it's a lot of that. It's a lot of professional development, definitely for our upperclassmen and different things, trying to make sure these students are ready post grad and different things. Start thinking about that early.
So let me ask, you were saying that the students support the students. So it's peer-to-peer counseling. So that's one advantage. So some of these students have already gone through some certain experiences. So that's why they can counsel the younger students. Is that how that works?
Correct. And then also everybody that works for the project staff has, been involved in our program for 1 or multiple years. So they have taken our internship course on student leadership and development in the Black community, or they have engaged in our mentorship program, and they have engaged in peer-to-peer mentorship and received that type of development, and or maybe some professional support and some community-based support. And when you participate in either of those other components, it's mandatory that you be having a peer counselor. So they are automatically, peer counseled. And so they've went through their own counseling experience and been very familiar with our services. So all of these students, I have students on my staff who are readmitted students who are formerly dismissed or formerly on academic difficulty, or I have students on my staff who are on ASU staff or in leadership in other Harambe Council orgs and Black organizations on campus. So you go see your student leaders, so it's very real. You feel like you let students know that it's achievable. These students are doing exactly what you were doing. And I feel like that's a part of that adjustment when these students get to UCLA. Maybe they feel like they're not good enough to be here, or they shouldn't be here, or how did I even get here? No, you deserve to be here. And sitting here looking at your peers, figuring it out, sitting here being bosses. I mean, that's the mentality that y'all gotta have to get through it, because y'all can do it too. So I think that's very reflected in a student initiated, student run philosophy that this program operates off of, that the whole union operates off of in terms of student initiated and student run. There's also alumni or post grads, graduate students, other people as professionals that are a part of these families based on their career field or major interests. And, we put on workshops, we do activities, very communal based. We host study halls. I mean, we do all kind of other little programs in between. Our internship class is offered 2 out of the 3 quarters of the academic year. We kind of just brought back our summer program. So this is going to do something for incoming students, reviving a program that hasn't been around in over 15 years. So, oh man, we got a lot going on.
I was wondering, for that new student that is coming to the campus, how would they learn about ASP? Would they go with their guidance counselor, or how would they be directed to even find out about you?
we would go to Instagram. We're very active on Instagram, ASP at UCLA. You can find us through the Black Bruins page as well. We have our own website, so I'll make sure to send you that link to put in there. So we're very active. There's been a desire, so we're coming out with a newsletter. We'll be working on one over the summer since more people want to just stay in touch with us. There's definitely committees and other ways for you guys to be involved as incoming students to get involved with us, as well as just being recipients of our program, joining these committees, taking on these leadership roles. And, hopefully one way you'll find your way to be on ASP staff one of these years.
Yeah, because this work that you're talking about is very important. And, that first step on the campus is also important. So that's good to know that they can find you on Instagram. So, see, that's the benefit of having you being with us. You can give us this information. So now, as you know, we're here for the Divine Nine series, and you're representing the Zetas. And so I wanted to know, how has being a member of Zeta Phi Beta sorority served you so far? You're a new spring initiate. So what has your experience been like, and how is it serving you right now?
My experience has been great. I definitely feel like Zeta has continued to feed my hunger for like leadership and development. It's definitely constantly giving me opportunities. And I know it's not done giving yet, but these leadership conferences are just being able to meet and network with certain people, being able to be mentored by older sorors, just soaking up that knowledge. I think I'm built a little different than my peers. I was raised by my grandma. So, I be used to just soaking up these stories or just things like that and that type of like mentorship. And it's definitely something that I've missed since I lost my grandmother almost a decade ago. And so definitely just being able to, reap that kind of development, that nurturing, that real sisterhood aspect. But also I just, I'm young. But so, I feel like that a bit of that older sister, that maternal relationship as well. I feel like it's done a lot for me, and not just opening doors or like developing me as a leader or professionally, but I think to just have that relationship and that guidance from older women and different things, and just also just feeling grounded. I feel like I've always had to be a big sister to my younger sisters, played mom sometimes, but I finally feel like once in my life I've been able to be supported by other Black women too. I just think that's important for you to be heard and seen and supported and uplifted by, people that look like you. So it's just done a lot for my life and brought me a lot of solid relationships. I feel like I've always been a well-known person. There might people say popular. I don't consider myself to be so, but well known. But that don't mean everybody your friend. And so, I definitely feel like I've just been grounded, I guess is a way to say it. Ever since I joined this organization, I feel like it's, just shown me the type of quality relationships that I deserve. Feel like it's helped me demand more of these type of quality relationships and things going forward. So I do think it's just beefed up my life and grounded me in those aspects.
That's excellent. You want to make sure that you have a great group of people around you. So I'm glad you have found that environment, because that's important, very much so. So now we always like to wrap up with words of encouragement. And I'm just thinking, for that listener that may be seeking to join a Greek organization, do you have any words of advice or some information that you can help that young listener that's thinking about pursuing this route?
I think there's often a lot of like ambiguity around Greek organizations. Dare I say, maybe even some myths, some taboo things that people might have heard about. I think it's in terms of approaching it, you just got to put yourself out there and take that initiative. And I feel like that's how you're supposed to approach everything else in life. If you want something, you're going to go after it. If you want something, you're going to make time for it. And you're going to figure out how to be there, how to fit that into your schedule, how to show up. I think it's very important, as you were just listening to some of the things I gained, the different things. I think a big thing for me is sisterhood. Every organization is different. Definitely do y'all's research, and learn. Get to know these people in the chapter that you're interested in, the organization you're interested in. I think it's getting to know these people. Do you feel like home around these people? Why do you really want to join? When you really look at it, people got to pay money for this. It's a lifelong commitment. Why commit yourself to something lifelong if you're not going to be serious about it? So I think just putting your best foot forward and just making sure it's something you really want to do. I think as I just went through my journey, I definitely think it helped me just learn some things about myself, maybe reaffirm some things about myself. So it's definitely gonna be a journey when you get into college. A lot of y'all, we're getting to know ourselves, we're figuring things out. So definitely just pay attention to those kind of things. And I would say that's for any club or organization on campus. Like, what is your why? Why are you showing up here every day? Don't just sit here to take up space. If you're coming in here, come in here to do some work. Why do you want to be here? As much as you want to reap from these organizations, you also got to put into these organizations. Nothing's going to pay out if you ain't putting nothing in the bank. So you got to put that work in if you want to see that payout.
That's excellent. Thank you for sharing. Now, how are you taking care of you? It's mental health awareness that we're focusing on. So, how do you take care of yourself?
I definitely make time for like self care, making sure I go do things with my friends or, my sorority sisters, just making sure I going on walks after you living in Atlanta. Yeah, I got a little hybrid life now working at UCLA. But, being out here, Georgia definitely looks different than California. I've definitely been enjoying going on some walks or hikes, just different outdoor, getting into more outdoors things, just being around some nature. Yeah, mental health. I think it's also just like having enough self awareness and being empowered enough to also set and enforce your boundaries. It definitely looking at like student leaders as I've transitioned from actively being one to now advising them. It's just sad to watch what students go through behind closed doors. And it's almost like when you step up to take on these leadership roles for ASU staff or these other big roles in these organizations, it's like when you choose to serve, when you take on, I don't want to say the burden because it's supposed to be something you want to do, but the weight of serving your community is almost like you lose your humanity. People stop seeing you as human, like as somebody who's been publicly attacked, as somebody who's watched these students get publicly attacked, just watching, people years later, y'all probably gonna look back on this petty drama, like why was anybody doing it? But like I've watched people actively harass and like bully their peers. It just seems like some students just feel it's this feeling sometimes, or it can be if you will let it consume you, that no matter what you do, it's not enough. And so I think as much as we want to do the work of our community, also just setting these boundaries, knowing where we're at, knowing what our triggers are, knowing what we aren't, just gonna tolerate. And I definitely think transitioning out of my role for ASU's chair and now being a staff member, I've been better about practicing or enforcing certain boundaries. And I know that can be difficult for students sometimes, but I definitely think y'all gotta learn how to like say no just as quick as you'll tell that white man no. Well, sometimes you gotta say no to some of these things, to some of this work. No, I can't show up and do this. No, I'm not in capacity to do this. No, I'm not well or in the headspace to do this or to take that on. Like, respectfully, somebody else might have to do it. So I think it's also communicating that, because when y'all don't and y'all sit there and drown, or you just sit there and not do the work for whatever reason, like it ain't doing nothing but not just harming you, but it's harming all the people that elected you, that you signed up to represent and serve. So I do think we got to get just better and more realistic. And that goes back to knowing people's self. People take on this work. Sure, are people clout chasing sometimes? Sure, I guess. But 9 times out of 10, people probably didn't know what they was getting themselves into until they're here. And so how involved were you before you ran for this role and took it on? How much did you know about the climate you was coming into? How much did you know about yourself to know what you could or could not handle? So I definitely think, some of those things go hand in hand with knowing yourself and, establishing those boundaries and learning how to firmly communicate those boundaries.
Yeah, boundaries. That is very important, very key. That's a good thing to learn at a young age, is to set important boundaries. So now how can our listeners reach out? You said you're on IG. So what's the IG to reach out to ASP?
It's ASP at UCLA.
Okay. And if they wanted to reach out to you, do you have an email address, or maybe they can find you on LinkedIn?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn. My name is on LinkedIn. I respond back. I actually check my LinkedIn like almost every day. It's like professional Facebook, y'all. So hit me up on the LinkedIn. Y'all definitely hit me up so we can get y'all the support. that you need throughout your time here at UCLA. And, if any other college students, maybe you don't go to UCLA, I also am always just looking to help. So if you just ever need any support with college or navigating retention or anything in general, you can also feel free to hit me up and, maybe I can help you find some support, some things on your particular campus, or at least show you what you're looking for so you can go get that help.
Fantastic. Well, Simone, I'm glad that you are in a leadership role. You're going to finish school. And I mean, you're just moving forward. You're being productive. You're definitely, walking the walk and not just talking about it. So I'm so glad that you came back to us and you're here representing the Zetas. It's pretty cool. So I appreciate you. And I'm going to be in touch with you very soon. And I thank you for being on. Thank you for joining us.
All right.
All right. You take it easy. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining us. Identify peer-based counseling services on your campus and become the leader you were destined to be. For more information about other episodes, remember to subscribe to the Back to Me podcast, College and Beyond. I'm your host, Yoli Tamu. Leave a review at the end of this podcast, and if you would like to learn more about other special events, join the Back to Me podcast Facebook group, or simply text Back to Me to 833-206-4565. Until next time, be well.
Back to me.